As we begin, we find ourselves in the province of Ontario, Canada, where Provincial Police Detective Sergeant Jim Smith is now investigating Colonel Russell Williams, who is 47 years old and serves in the Royal Canadian Air Force, regarding a woman who has gone missing. 9 days before that, the disappearance of Jessica Lloyd, who was 27 years old, occurred at her residence in Belleville, Ontario, after receiving a tip that there was an SUV parked in a field adjacent to Jessica's house that night. The police went to the area and gathered tire and boot imprints from the vehicle. In addition, the police established a fictitious DUI checkpoint, at which they stopped any SUV that came close to collect tire footprint prints. Williams was one of the people that were stopped, and the tire impressions that were discovered in the field were identical to those that were found. Additionally, he lied to the police, claiming to have a sick child at home, despite authorities confirming this to be false. Following this, he was taken in for interrogation, placed under surveillance, search warrants were issued, and he was brought in for questioning. Moreover, he provided the authorities with an impression of the boots he was wearing, under the pretext of assisting with the inquiry due to his role as a commanding officer at a nearby Air Force base. In reality, he was a participant in the search and rescue operation that was part of the investigation. When he first walks into the room, he gives off the impression of being calm and even chewing gum. However, his demeanor shifts when investigator Smith begins to retrieve evidence. Would it come as a surprise to you to learn that while the CSI officers were searching your property, they discovered a set of tire tracks? They found that the tires in question were the same ones that were found on the Pathfinder. There is no doubt that this is the footwear that was worn by the individual who approached the back of Jessica Lloyd's house on the evening of January 28th and the following day, January 29th. I am providing you with a photocopy of the boot that you removed from your foot. That was just a short while ago. Okay, these are not different at all. You are currently having a search warrant carried out at your property, and your wife is aware of what is taking place at this very moment. It is difficult to imagine that they are attempting to minimize the impact that this has on my wife by sitting in silence for a half minute and staring at each other. It's Toby. Should you begin by being honest with yourself? The location of Jessica's body is brought to the attention of Williams. After that, you should explain to Smith how he targeted her after seeing her through the windows of her home, which was located along the path to the Air Force Base where he commanded SR in her home. It was Wednesdays, and I observed that she was absent on Thursdays. Because of this, I began to look around at him. Then they departed. Observed that she had returned home. As a result, I headed home. Williams admitted that he had broken into Jessica's home after she had gone to sleep. As a result, I roused her from her sleep. I sexually assaulted her inside her home. Following that, I escorted her to the vehicle and dropped her off at Tweed. Ottawa is home to the town of Tweed. Our names are Williams and his wife, and we spent the day at the cottage wearing tweed. Neither was under the impression that we were going to leave as we were walking. It is located in the rear. Instantaneously, her skull and gateway were unconscious. It was Williams who used a rope to strangle Jessica, and then he discarded her body in a field. In addition, he recorded a video of the entire encounter, which the authorities located on 2 hard disks that they uncovered when searching Williams' residence. Additionally, Williams admitted to the murder of a female Air Force corporal stationed who was 37 years old. This murder is based on the sexual assault of 2 other women, as well as a series of home break-ins that occurred between 2007 and 2009 and featured the theft of women's undergarments. The following day, he was taken into custody, and the body of Jessica was found outside. Williams entered a guilty plea to 82 counts of breaking, 2 counts of murder, and 2 counts of sexual assault 8 months after the initial charges against him. An assortment of photographs that Williams had taken of himself posing inside the residence when he was breaking into it while wearing lingerie that he had, in turn, stolen were presented in court. The year 2035, when he would be 72 years old, would be the year that he would be eligible for parole if he were to be sentenced to life in prison. In addition to destroying Williams' uniform, the Canadian Armed Forces removed Williams from his rank immediately. The divorce petition has been submitted by his wife. Following that, we find ourselves in North Las Vegas, Nevada, where the police are getting ready to question Alonso Perez, who is 25 years old. In addition to being charged with murder, he is also accused of using a lethal weapon. According to reports, 5 days earlier, Perez and a female companion got into an argument with a stranger named Mohammed Robinson, who was 31 years old, at a fast food restaurant in the area. The argument occurred when Robinson did not hold the door open for the friend. Perez allegedly shot Mohammed multiple times in the torso before fleeing the site of the crime, as stated by the police records. In the end, Mohammed passed away at the hospital. A tip led the authorities to the woman, and after a search that lasted for 5 days, Perez was apprehended and taken into custody. The gun that was used to kill Mohammed was also linked by the police to 2 separate shootings that occurred a month earlier, one of which resulted in the death of a 37-year-old man. Perez is currently being held in the interrogation room while the detectives are getting ready to question him. Nevertheless, he does not appear to be willing to simply hang about and wait. He is trying to find a way out of this situation. Located on this table are metal bars that have Perez cuffs attached to them. You can see him here, and it appears like he is attempting to figure out how to remove them and break free. Upon entering the room, a detective comes in to check on him. However, as soon as she leaves, Perez leaps back into the action with full force. In this instance, he attempts to wedge them open by using his belt buckle as a tool. At long last, the use of straightforward force is successful, and with a resounding thud, Perez is liberated from his handcuffs. It appears that he is pausing to check whether or not the cops have been alerted to his conduct by the commotion. After taking a look around the room, Perez sits down in a chair, pulls off an exhaust grate near the ceiling, and then disappears, continuing to wear ankle shackles today. Perez was able to flee from the police agency. In addition to the shootings that occurred earlier, Perez's gun was also linked to the murder of a guy who was 50 years old. Do you like it? Kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.